We'll be back from the break. Let's continue with more from Business Today. Now we look at the debt network in Kenya on the East African Community Bloc. Kenya's new president, William Ruto, assumed office today after swearing in. What lies ahead of the celebration, however, is a source of concern for many Kenyans and the East Africans in general, since the country, like many East African economies, is struggling to pay off its debt, both internally and externally. Ugandan parliamentarians weigh in on Kenya's relations with the rest of East Africa. And this report was compiled by Bronia Katosime.
Kenya is a middle-income country with ambitions to become a newly industrialized nation by 2030. Its economy is a developing one, and it is averagely industrialized compared to other East African countries. William Ruto has taken office at a critical juncture, and one of the most important problems he needs to deal with is Kenya's debt dilemma. Infrastructure development projects fueled by foreign indebtedness were implemented in line with Uhuru Kenyatta's Vision 2030. According to Honorable Henry Agon, we are hoping that Ruto would start to improve the economy after the 100 days he mentioned.
I would love to see the Kenyan government, now that they have new leadership, we are focused on the first 100 days. The first 100 days for Ruto. What is it that is going to do? For us to be able to show that he has made a difference after those 100 days plus, we need a proper handover. Where the current and the living, the one who is exiting, Kenyatta, shows that I've left you with an economy which is standing with either one leg or two legs. Standing, and it's up to this level. We are talking of an economy with a GDP of around 107 billion USD. Because there must be a baseline within which we started from. They should also indicate clearly, as they are handing over, how much debt is His Excellency Kenyatta handing over to the new person, Ruto, so that we know that after 60 months, from where they left you, where have you gone? We don't want now, you see, East Africa is now new. We are talking of figures, we want to talk about evidence. You don't just talk and bring Wolokoso.
Some lawmakers contend that while borrowing is not inherently harmful, it is a problem that is plaguing East Africa and Africa as a result of the abuse of these loans and unchecked borrowing.
Not bad. The problem with the securing loan within East Africa and within Africa is inflating cost of the infrastructure project. A road, money is secured for doing a road, for doing water works, for doing power dams and bridges, or for doing railway works, or standard gauge railway. It is inflation and corruption which is a major problem. A kilometer of road in Uganda here is one of the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. And yet we have a fairly flat terrain. We have a lot of local material like marram and stones. So what the media and civil society and all citizens need to fight is ensuring that the cost and utilization of this loan is put to strategic sector that can stimulate growth. We cannot do without borrowing. Every individual borrows even for domestic purposes. If you borrow money and you put in an investment which has no return, then there's a problem.
It has already affected East Africa. Uncontrolled appetite for foreign money, borrowed money. Moreover, you borrow but you are not sure about the return on the money. Why? Because sometimes we even borrow for consumptive purposes. You borrow money even for paying salaries. That is really, so I think, I don't know what is the correct term to use, but that's already where we are. It already has affected us. Do you know what it means? Sometimes even we crowd out our investors internally here. We borrow from outside, we borrow domestically. So when the business community wants to borrow money, they can't, because people prefer to lend to government. Government also fails to pay in time. And those are the situations we are seeing even in Uganda here, where we fail to pay money to people who have done work for government. And then you see the economy, which is in disarray. So I think uncontrolled borrowing is becoming a challenge, not only to Kenya.
Despite the economy's problems, the departing administration takes pride in infrastructure developments in the water and road sectors. Being the engine of East African community, Kenya, severely hit by inflation, is bound to have an impact on the neighboring nations.
It's a big economy. 170 billion USD GDP is not a small economy. With a population which is well around, I think, 56 million people. Let us drag the maps. Let us see the figures. We want the equivalent of U-boats in Kenya to show the statistics. It is a time when the whole world is seeing and witnessing serious inflation. How is he going to cut down the level of inflation in Kenya down to acceptable levels?
As the nation welcomes a new administration, William Ruto, Kenya's deputy president, who was elected president, announced his campaign platform, promising to lower the living expenses within his first 100 days in office.
Kenya's external debt situation, as well as the other East African countries, have been affected in the long run. However, how will the East African community operate with most states indebted to the external creditors? Bronya Katsime, Business Today, Smart 24 TV, driving business.
All right, now,
Kenya
after
is
missing
a
the 2018
middle-income
deadline, the
country
government
with
set
ambitions to be
2021 as the date for Uganda to begin producing electric cars. Since then, various inventors have attempted to develop projects to assemble hybrid cars to facilitate transportation and lessen Uganda's harmful gas emissions. The president announced on 20th July that switching to electric vehicles is one of the long-term options that Uganda must adopt to deal with the current high fuel prices and curb the high level of pollution in the environment. Now, this report takes us to the issue of electric cars and innovation.
Discussions of adapting or transitioning to electric vehicles have been more heated in many forums around Africa. In addition to promoting growth, electric public transportation technology will be a remedy to the rising pollution rates brought on by the imports of third-rated vehicles from developed nations.
Challenges, we want to add on value in terms of reducing pollution, and then also we want to make it very effective for the community. And then since there is a lot of inflation in fuel price, we also want that to be as a solution.
Ivan is not the first person to come up with such a good initiative. Several students from Makerere University and different universities around Uganda have been coming out with such initiatives, but they fail along the way just because Ugandans don't believe in themselves that such initiatives can be made in our country. Ivan is so determined to go with his initiative because he has a vision to accomplish.
The biggest challenge is the mindset from our natives, from the people. They think we can't do perfect things, productions. Yeah, they have that mindset already, and it's very hard to change it. I know we shall change it slow, because if you do something that is effective, always the client will always come back to you. Yes. And then another challenges we have is the paperwork to complete a certain process, to be able to go into sales, to be able to reach a certain goal. There's a lot of paperwork you go through in terms of producing these autos. So that's what's giving us a time. And then also, like, especially is funding.
However, the expense of these cars and whether or not our roads can support such cars are the public's biggest concerns.
This one is it's the size of a Humvee car. So Humvees are costly online. Online they are costing 400 to import it up to Uganda. It's 400 million. So if we are to build it like this one we built from home here, if it's 100% done, without support, we can sell it around 25 M.
The only challenge we have right now is the charging infrastructure. To have electric vehicles operating on our roads, we need to have charging points where vehicles can go, get charged so they can be able to get on the road, and because normally each charge will probably take somebody out for about 8 hours. 8 hours of running time. So those are the only challenge is the charging infrastructure that we don't have at the moment.
The good news is that even Ugandans who currently drive automated vehicles can switch to electric or hybrid vehicles, which are both automated and computerized. As Ugandans, if we adopt such hybrid cars that move on both auto and electronic, we can ease ourselves from the high pressures of the inflation that keep rising on fuel. Monica Nabionga, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now, many African nations, including those in the East African region and the Horn of Africa, which includes Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, and the rest, have recently started modernizing their venerable and time-honored railway transport systems. Uganda, Kenya, South Sudan, Rwanda, and now Congo will be connected by a standard gauge railway line that will be built through these nations. Samuel Kirimunda takes us through the journey of the standard gauge railway from the meter gauge railway to the standard gauge railway. How about that journey? Let's have more in this feature report.
The Uganda Railway is synonymous with the British colonial rule that oversaw the creation of a link between the East African interior and the coast. For long, it served an integral part to the East African community through the East African Railways Corporation, and just before the fall of the East African community in 1977. The importance of the railway line was, however, challenged with management constraints, giving rise to South Africa's Rift Valley Railways, whose 25 years concession agreement with Uganda was cancelled in 2018. As transport by roads gained strength, covering kilometers across the country, the railway was largely considered for cargo, as both cargo and passenger transport hits the roads, setting a total abandonment of the network.
The challenges I face while using the train, one of them is that, you know how we've said the economy, everything is very high, the tax prices are very high, the border charges are so high, everything, every other mean of transport is high. Some of us who have our own cars, even as we've stopped reaching the facility, we failed to make it to buy the fuel to put in our cars, so we have to resort to the train. That is why I'm saying the challenge is that we are very many now who have turned to the train. The train is getting so much packed up, and because people are leaving the other side because of the high prices, getting to the train. Now the challenge is that we are now very, very many in the train, meaning the train, the managers and the people dealing in the train section, the administrators should help us to maybe expand because the train can really be so much packed. I don't know how I can strain that or stress that, but the train can be so packed. So if the managers and the administrators could help us and add on more coaches, it would be a really good thing. Or maybe bring up a new train, it would also be very good. You get to find that the pregnant mothers, the lame people, the sick people, those are the challenges they find. The train can be packed up, others do not want to give them the seats, and the lame find it so hard to also get to that crowded place because they will end up being affected, falling, all that.
With Kenya setting precedents in 2017, cancelling its concession agreement with the Rift Valley Railways, Uganda had to strategize on ways of reviving the 121 years old railway network. Recently, President Museveni, Rwandan President Paul Kagame, and the former President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, commissioned the standard gauge railway in Mombasa, and the spillover development have now taken shape in Uganda as a move to link Mombasa, Kampala, and Kigali.
It will reduce the cost to Ugandan investors and to Uganda itself. It will improve efficiency of Mombasa Port, which is to the benefit of our people. But it will also increase volumes, because by reducing cost and becoming more efficient, you're also increasing trade, you're also increasing investment, and by extension, you're increasing job opportunities for both Kenyans and Ugandans.
On the other side, we are preparing to build a line from Kampala to Malaba, and eventually a line to Kasese to link with the Congo border, and a line to Nimule to link with the South Sudan. So that line will link up with the heartland of Africa eventually. Now, that will cut the cost of transport drastically. I hope you have the figures. But that container you are talking about will now cost less in terms of transport.
In 2012, the government of Uganda had signed a memorandum of understanding with China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation. This was, however, reverted in a favor of China Harbour Engineering Company, and a US $2.3 billion loan, equivalent to 45 trillion Ugandan shillings, will come from the Exim Bank of China, with further support from the African Development Bank.
Total compensation, as I said, were 122 people, and the total compensation was about 1.7 billion shillings. Good enough, the money was available eventually after some time, and we have paid off, out of the 122, we have paid off almost all of them, except 9 people. But the 9 is because they had some issues of sometimes identification. It's not that the money was not there, but their identifications were not proper, and therefore they were skipped. And to me, I think I thank the people because they accepted to leave the project. This project was something that they were part of their what I call livelihood. But that's what happens when the project comes in a place. It is brings both good and bad. The good side of it is that when we bring a project, we tell people that this project is good because one, sometimes we create jobs. Secondly, it is going to make your life a little better, and by standards of projects coming into an area, it is supposed to live people's lives better than yesterday. And so the story here is that the people moved, yes, but we've got information that they have utilized the money well. Some of them bought land and they are building better houses.
As China Harbour Engineering Company takes the primary role, secondary players involved include China Road and Bridges Corporation, the executor of China's infrastructure drive, the Belt and Road Initiative, and the Spanish consultants.
We have a Spanish construction team. They're called the consultants. You see, Spain has one of the best rail networks. So we have the consultants, and first they are doing capacity building for the team. Then they are going to construct the line from Kampala to Mukono.
Currently, construction of Malaba-Mukono meter gauge line is underway, paving vertical progress for the standard gauge railway constructed by China Road and Bridges Corporation. The Minister for Works and Transport, General Katumba Wamala, while visiting the construction works, said that this section will cost 85 billion shillings.
185 billion shillings, Ugandan shillings, which is about $51 million. That means replacing those, you see these, replacing the rails, replacing the sleepers, and rehabilitating the bridges and culverts.
The line is expected to be completed by the end of this year. However, disruptions have been cited, as revealed by Mr. Tai.
As you can see, we are constructing the meter gauge railway from Malaba to Mukono, which the total length is around 237 kilometers. As of today, we have completed around 64% of the total construction works. And our construction period is supposed to be 10 months. We are now in time. We are actually a bit slightly advanced of the progress. As I was committed during the launching ceremony in Mukono ICD, which was February, I committed our CRBC would deliver the project by November, which now since all the consignment of the railway material had arrived, and we are catching up with the progress. So we have confidence to commit again that we should deliver this project on November to government of Uganda and the great people of Uganda. So it will benefit the region, as we can see, as just the minister mentioned. It is supposed to carry at least 60,000 tons.
The anticipation is quite clear. Previously, the meter gauge used to carry 20 to 30 containers of cargo per day and estimated passenger capacity of 60,000 passengers.
Because it saves me from the traffic and the risks of the road, because the train has less risks. For example, the accidents, we rarely hear accidents of the train. So that is an advantage, and since we'll be coming out from work, we need to get back home early and have a little bit of rest so that we start our new day with fresh energy and with enough rest. So it really saves us a lot from all that. And the other advantage about the train, it is cheap. And you know, the economy, everything is so high, and it has really boosted our see-through in the economy of Uganda, because it favors our income, because it is cheaper than the other sources of transport, other means of transport, sorry about that. So I would encourage people to also use the train because it is a good experience. It saves a lot and it is very, very fast.
The project, like in the colonial times with the Indian coolies, the Ugandan coolies from as far as West Nile, Busoga, among other regions, detest the hospitality by the contractors.
Some of the challenges we have here, maybe sometimes transport, means of transport going to work like far end there, and also we have challenges like rain. Now we are working under rain, and you know you cannot leave this train while you have opened it. So that is another challenge. We are working under rain.
Challenges we have been facing here. I want to begin since when I've been working with the companies. I never got a company that doesn't give food for people to eat. To be sincere, my dear, we are working throughout the day minus eating. You eat at evening hours on your own, and they pay us some 20 days, whereby at times there are a lot of things. About people expecting things from you. You personally you expect something from yourself, whereby those are the challenges we are facing. And rentals, if it comes to transport, as our supervisor said, as we speak this evening, we are going to work from this is Namaiba, we are going to walk up to Seta. Nazigo, it's far away. We have to leave here at 5:30, and from there we walk and they are not all at very good security on the way. You know, there are some of the places whereby they have not built any house. You just walk like 5 kilometers, you don't find anything like a house.
More to the Ugandan coolies. Compensation for the project affected persons in the standard gauge railway has been a big issue. 1.7 billion shillings so far spent, and reportedly a few others to be addressed. There are more voices expressing the need for equity.
And I'm the chairman for Kitovu Fish Farmers Association, which was affected by the standard gauge railway project in 2016. We had a number of fish farmers here, over 120 fish farmers in this area. And fortunately, we were compensated by the government under the project, standard gauge railway project. So we reallocated, and we had to do a lot of good things from the money we received from the compensation. Some of us, we have bought land, we have started another bigger, in fact a better, bigger project in Masese, in cage fish farming. So a few members, like 5 to 6, 7 people, they haven't yet got the money. But at least 98% have been compensated. So, and a few who are remaining, I think they are handling. Offices are handling. They are going to pay even those people who have not yet been paid. But now we are doing well, and we don't regret. Those who are compensated, they are over 146. But only like 70 people are remaining not yet being compensated, for fish farming particularly.
Total compensation, as I said, we were 122 people, and the total compensation was about 1.7 billion shillings. Good enough, the money was available eventually after some time, and we have paid off, out of the 122, we have paid off almost all of them except 9 people. But the 9 is because they had some issues of sometimes identification. It's not that the money was not there, but their identifications were not proper, and therefore they were skipped.
As a history of bad agreements with the Belt and Road Initiative companies across Africa and emerging economies freshly lives, it's interesting how this development shall shape in the future as efforts of middle income status persists. Samuel Chirimonda, reporting for Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
The journey to Uganda's standard gauge railway continues, and it already took center stage. And we do hope it is a success, because it will be boosting Uganda's transportation sector at large. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Williams and Akauchi on Sign Language, and we've been coming to you live from Plot 42, Nile Avenue. This is Business Today. Have a blessed night. Good night.